Well friends, we've did it. We officially hit 100,000 subscribers. And to celebrate, we're going to be doing an AMA with questions submitted by all of you. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to get to all of the questions in this video, and if you'd like to see a follow-up, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for more. And I'll try to do a follow-up video as quickly as I can. For anybody who's been here since the channel started back in 2022, I just want to say thank you. And it's insane how much growth the channel has seen in the last 2 years. I've watched YouTube for almost 20 years, and the fact that we've actually hit 100,000 subscribers is mind-boggling. It still doesn't feel real. So, thank you to all of you. Before we hop into this video, I'd just like to say, if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a member, as it really does help. Affiliate links are also in the description for comicbookdirect.com, where you can save some money on new comics, and have them shipped directly to your home, as well as a link to our Discord server, where we can all talk and hang out. Thank you all for being here for so long. It really honestly means a lot to me. With all that being said, let's hop into today's video. Today I'm going to be answering your questions. What's my favorite comic book / manga series? Well, it's a little tough to say. I've always loved Spider-Man, especially Stan Lee's run, because it's so unique, honestly. And Spider-Man's always been my favorite character. I was a big fan of The Dark Knight Returns, until the sequels came out. And as for manga, Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball is probably one of my favorites of all time. Yes, I'm basic. And I'm okay with that. Which upcoming comic book film am I most excited for? Well, Secret Wars? Pretty much. I'm cautiously optimistic about Superman Legacy, but it's yet to be proven. And honestly, I hope it gets off to a good start, considering DC really needs a pick-me-up right about now. But I think everybody's looking forward to Secret Wars. That's just going to be the standard answer moving forward. Who is your favorite and least favorite comic book artist? Also, congratulations. Well, thank you, first of all. And secondly, favorite is tough. I really like Todd McFarlane's run on Spider-Man, but it's also really rough. It's really tough to say. It's basically a three-way toss-up between John Romita Sr., honestly, J. Scott Campbell's really good, and Jim Lee is incredible. Especially as he's aged. For least favorite, it's gonna have to be late-stage Frank Miller. Just look. It's awful.
I don't like that.
Am I planning on watching the new Hellboy movie, Hellboy the Crooked Man? Not really. It does look really interesting and good, but it's not going to be something I go out to see. Plus, I prefer staying home and watching movies anyway. Trust me, as this goes on, you'll find out. I'm incredibly lame. What other heroes or vigilantes from Gotham, outside of the Bat family, would I like to be seen given more of a spotlight? If you really think about it, basically everyone in Gotham is tied to the Bat family, so that's going to be more difficult. I know that they're not actually tied together, but I'm going to throw an audible and cheat, and I'm going to say The Question, since The Question is also a ground-level hero just like Batman, and I think that the two of them would work really good together in a team-up movie. I've been saying it for years, and I really hope it happens at some point. How did the X-Men and Spider-Man become popular with comics, but the Avengers and other superheroes like them weren't? Well, this is going to be complete speculation since I'm not an actual comic historian. Rest in peace, Benny. If I had to hazard a guess, I would say it has something to do with Stan's writing. And the fact that he wants to humanize all of these characters, give them relatable problems, and make the reader see themselves in these beings. Spider-Man being one of the most popular, since, his life is so terrible, hence Parker luck. But seeing his life be so bad makes him really relatable to many people across the world. And the same thing with the X-Men, and Fantastic Four. Seeing how these dysfunctional, multicultural families work together, and how they truly care about each other even when they want to rip their hair out sometimes. It's these things that make the comic book characters more relatable and make people want to read them more because they see reflections of themselves and their own lives in the books. But that's just what I think. And when you get to a bigger scale, like the Avengers and bigger crossovers, you start losing the heart of the stories, since they're more focused on spectacle, which, coincidentally, leads right into the movies. Because even though a lot of people want to go into films and see something with a lot of heart, they're not going to really be entertained unless they see some good visuals along with it. So it absolutely makes sense that these big tentpole franchises like the Avengers and Justice League, sometimes, actually do take off in films instead of the books. Because let's be honest here, we can all kind of relate to Spider-Man not being able to pay his rent and struggling with self-identity, as opposed to stopping an alien invasion where the multiverse is at stake and a purple guy snapping a glove with rocks in it. Who's my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy character? Star-Lord? I love Chris Pratt. How would I go about fixing the mainline Spider-Man books? What storylines would I make in order to get there? Universe-wide reset. Full-on Crisis on Infinite Earths that crap. Get it out, start over. No further explanation needed, but I mean, the other option that I have is have the One Above All come down and have a conversation with Spider-Man, saying that he's basically setting him on a path of trial and error to see if he's really committed to being the best superhero he can be, and truly live up to his uncle's promise of having great responsibility with his great power, and following through, making the world a better place, and having everything be thrown at him almost like a biblical trial, to see if he will maintain and still be a good human at the end of the day. And then as a reward, wipe the slate clean. What's my favorite DC comic, favorite Marvel comic, and favorite manga? So my number one DC comic book, individual issue, would have to be Batman issue number 54, since that was an incredible story between Batman and Nightwing, showing him growing up to be the man that Bruce needed him to be at that time. My favorite issue of all time for Marvel would have to be Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 90, since that was the first comic book I ever had. Is it great? No, but it's impactful to me. And for manga, geez, that's tough. I'll have to get back to you on that one. What are my top 5 favorite Iron Man suits, and what's my favorite version of Spider-Man that's not 616? Okay, so for the suits, Infamous Iron Man, Hulkbuster, the gold suit that he wears in Avengers issue number 1, I know it predated that, but still, Silver Centurion, and I'm not necessarily opposed to his original Ultimate suit, but it's different. And favorite version of Spider-Man? If we're talking about purely cosmetic-wise, it's going to be Spider-Man 2099. However, if we're talking about iteration of the character, then it would have to be probably the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. Which live-action Superman is my favorite? Henry Cavill. Hands down, he has the look. Tell us about yourself. How old are you? Whereabouts are you from? What was the first comic book that you remember that got you into them?
I have been here for all that has been, and all that will be. I am everywhere, yet nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, no, I'm 28, I'm from America, and Spider-Man issue number 90 from the Ultimate Universe was the first comic I ever had. Am I happy with where the channel is so far? I used to make a lot more long-form videos that I put a lot of editing into, but since then I've really just gone into shorts, considering they've really been what's making my channel take off, and it seems like people aren't really interested in long-form content from me anymore, which I'm okay with, since the shorts are a lot easier to make. But I'm not gonna lie, I do have a lot of passion for making the long-form edited videos. They're just really fun to do. What do you think will happen to Paul? How will he be written out of the current Spider-Man line? I don't want to be this guy. I don't think Paul's going anywhere.
This is not how this was supposed to go!
He's too ingrained in the universe at this point. I mean, he's already spilled over into the Black Cat and Jackpot comic. So, it's only a matter of time until he sticks around for good. How many years have I been collecting comic books? So I got my first comic book about 18 years ago. My dad took me to a local comic book store, and it was just the first one that I found. However, I definitely stopped collecting comic books for a long time after that. I didn't start up again until about 10 years ago. And I haven't really been collecting comic books in depth for probably close to 5 or so years. Just, you know, life and family. Do I think that focusing less on the drama aspect of the X-Men and more on them being heroes would benefit them as a whole? Similar to how the writers will focus more on Batman being a detective rather than some playboy. Yes and no. Personally, I think that the appeal of reading a Batman story is reading about the adventures of Batman, being the detective, solving crimes, and fighting bad guys along the way. I don't think that the goal of Batman stories is to read about his exploits as Bruce Wayne. That's more Tony Stark, honestly. And in a similar vein, I feel like people really read the X-Men stories to see the interpersonal relationships between them. Not necessarily romantic ones, but just how they interact as a dysfunctional family. Yes, the action is incredible and very nice, and Wolverine is a welcome addition. I mean, it's tough to think about, but he wasn't even in the X-Men for the first, over 10 years of the stories? Not until Giant Size X-Men number 1. But realistically, to me, the appeal of the X-Men is their interpersonal relationships. And I feel like that's the biggest difference between Marvel and DC. Marvel has always been focused more about the characters themselves being relatable to actual humans, and DC has been focusing on the mythology of the characters, the legends, the heroes themselves. I always feel that DC characters are less humanized than Marvel. But at the same time, I feel like DC's storylines have a lot more consequences. So it's a give and take. Honestly, I'd still be okay with it, and I'd be okay seeing more action-focused stories with X-Men. But I think that we all learned from X-Men 97 that seeing these interpersonal relationships is really what's driving people to love these characters. Who's my favorite comic book character in general? Well, toss up between The Flash and Spider-Man. Do I have a comic book collection? And if I do, what's my favorite comic book? Yes, I do. It's not as much as it was before. I went through and sold off a lot of my key issues. It used to be Batman #1. That was a crazy story about how I got it. Ended up getting it from the drummer from System of a Down over at Torpedo Comics through a giveaway. But unfortunately, everything in 2020 happened, and I'm sure everybody remembers that. So I don't have it anymore. So I would say that the single issue that I have that's the most important to me now is I have a couple of copies of Ultimate Spider-Man #90, which, like I said, is my first comic book ever. I try to pick it up every time I see it. It's not valuable or really important outside of my own personal value, but I love it. And it always ties me back to my dad, who passed away 8 years ago. So, you know, it's a fun way to remember him. Who's my anime waifu? Sir, I am married. Tsunade. When are we going to see a 10 to 20 minute messed up moments in the boys comics? There's no way that would be monetized. Heck, I tried making a random comic recap of it and I had to edit it 3 times. Just to censor everything. The words, the graphics. It's impossible. I mean, if I did do it, it'd have to be unmonetized. So I'd have to figure out another way to get some kind of income to be able to fund it. Because it's going to take a long time to work on. Especially if it's 20 minutes. In celebration of Sonic Movie 3 trailer, have I read any of the IDW Sonic runs? I haven't read any of the Sonic comics in like, I don't know, 20 years. But I remember seeing them when I was a kid, and they were really good. I'm more of a casual Sonic fan. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Shadow the Hedgehog is probably my favorite character of all Sonic, and that's absolutely not a surprise to anybody. And Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is my favorite game, basically, of all time. So this is going to be a good Christmas for me. What are my thoughts on Paul from the Zebwell Spider-Man run? I think that's pretty evident. How would you feel if Paul turned out to be Mephisto, cashing in on the I Want Your Marriage deal with Peter? You know, that would make too much sense. What inspired me to make this channel? Honestly, I felt like doing something creative for a long time. I used to do a lot of video editing when I was younger, and I had just hit a point where I needed something to do, and my wife was the one who came up with the idea. My wife told me that she thinks it would be a good idea if I made the YouTube channel just to get a creative outlet. Never expecting anything to really take off from it in the first place, but just do it for fun. And that's what it was for the longest time. Until it exploded with messed up moments in comics, which, hilariously, was also my wife's idea. She's incredibly interested in the true crime stories and the incredibly dark facts about these crimes, I'm just gonna say, keeping it really YouTube friendly. You know, like the Bailey Sarians, the Mr. Ballins, those kind of things. And she thought it would be interesting for people to look up messed up moments in comics, or unknown storylines, trying to get these facts out there, because people might be interested. And she was absolutely right, because before I started Messed Up Moments in Comics, my channel was at like 2,000 subscribers, and in 10 months it's shot up to 102,000. So, all I have to say is, thank you, Ashley. Could we possibly get some lore about you? Also, thank you for being here since 50k subscribers, that's insane. And people who've been there since before that? Oh my god, thank you. Well, if you want to know something, you can ask. The worst I can say is, I'm not going to answer that. What do I think of the new 40k game? I'm not gonna lie, I had Warhammer 40k figures when I was younger. My dad and I had a giant ammo box collection of them, but he inherited them. I never played the game. I played D&D a couple of times, and it was really fun, but I've never actually played Warhammer. What is my least favorite thing about the One Piece? All of it. Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy. I never got into One Piece back in the day. I was more of a Bleach, Naruto, and Dragon Ball kid, and I maintain that to this day. Over 1,000 episodes? No one has time for that. I can't get into it. I've tried multiple times, I just can't. What's it like being a YouTuber? It's actually not different at all. Like, not even a little bit. I know that's probably demystifying, but it's not different at all. I'm just a normal dude, working a normal job, and occasionally my nephews and son think it's kinda cool. It's not even a real job for me, honestly, because I don't do it full time. It's just something that I do for fun. I mean, maybe someday I can do it full time, but at this time I'm just doing it, you know, for fun. So it's like any kind of hobby. If it's something you enjoy, do it. We love you, Alex. Thank you. Honestly, the fact that we hit 100,000 subscribers in less than 2 years is astounding. I know that less than 0.5% of people even get to 100,000 in general, and the fact that it happened so quickly is mind-boggling to me. So I just wanted to take this time to say thank you to everybody for sticking around for so long, and I hope you guys enjoy all the content I've been putting up, because I like sharing these stories. Even if I just come across them randomly, I think it's fun to share. I've always enjoyed teaching people new things, and I think it's a lot of fun. So if there's ever anything you want to see me cover on the channel, it doesn't have to be a messed up moment in comics. It could be anything involving comic books or manga. You can always just let me know in the comments. I'm going to put a pin in this for now. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching this far. I really hope you enjoyed this Q&A and learned a little bit. I am incredibly boring, and sincerely, I appreciate all of you. So until next time, as I always say, I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.